Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill Top 10 matchup. Indiana heading on the road to play Oregon. Couple of monster storylines that I want to get off my chest. Number one is the definition of a Heisman Trophy game. Whatever football team wins this on Saturday afternoon, you are looking at a very likely candidate to go win the Heisman Trophy. Dill, number two, and this should fire up every single college football fan that's going to be watching this game. Both of these coaching staffs coming off a bye week. I think these are two of the best staffs in the country. You're giving them 2 weeks to prepare for this football game. You're going to see a lot of clean football in this football game up there in Eugene, Oregon. Number three, Dill, this might be the biggest storyline. An opportunity for the entire college football landscape to get a really damn good feel of what Indiana is when they bump up against one of the best teams in the sport. And that was the narrative for Indiana last year. Really good football team when they had equal talent. But when they went on the road and played a college football playoff caliber team with some of the best players in the country, they struggled, right? Went on the road against Ohio State, went on the road against Notre Dame. I do want to say this, that this to me is a better Indiana team in 2025. And it starts with the quarterback. Curtis Rourke was really damn good. Like, I ain't going to get up here and say Curtis Rourke was bad for Indiana in 2024, but he wasn't really a difference maker. Really wasn't a playmaker. It needed to be pretty damn clean for Curtis Rourke to have success. Well, guess what? When you play a team like Ohio State, when you play a team like Notre Dame, when you play a team like Oregon, it ain't always going to be perfect. You need a quarterback that can be a little bit of a difference maker, get himself out of trouble. Fernando Mendoza, he's that kind of quarterback. And so I do think from a personnel standpoint, Indiana is better suited to go up against a team like Oregon. Now, how's it going to play out Saturday afternoon? That's what we're going to get into. Before we do, and as always, Indiana fans, Oregon fans, and look, college football fans in general would love to hear the takes that y'all have in the comment section. One of the more difficult games to predict on the Saturday slate. Let it rip. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I want to start with this Indiana offense. Fernando Mendoza has been really good, been able to run the football in a really meaningful way. And Dill, that's probably where it starts, right? You're going on the road to Autzen Stadium, really hostile environment. If you're dropping back and throwing the football in third and long a lot in this game, I think you have some real questions for Indiana. So if you're Indiana, it is imperative to run the football, stay ahead of schedule, and try to at least stay away from guys like Tatum and Mateo Yu pinning their ears back and getting after the quarterback. If Indiana can go on the road and run the football, I think it gives them a very good chance to have some success on the offensive side of the ball.
And that's where it gets into, because that was always going to be the question for Oregon coming up this year, especially losing some of the guys in the front seven lost. But then you look at that Penn State game where, I mean, they stepped up to the plate. Like a guy like Bear Alexander, we haven't seen him play that way in his college career. Obviously, Amari Washington's been pretty dominant, and your defensive ends are as good as it gets stopping the run. So that, to me, is what's kind of Indiana's wrinkle, because Indiana's been able to run their base stuff pretty effectively, even against Iowa. And the stats aren't going to look great because they took way too many negative plays in the rushing attack. But down in, down out, they were making it happen. Do you think they have something to get to Oregon? Because I don't think they can just line it up and slam it at this team.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. What I saw from Oregon against Penn State on the road, I don't know. Like I don't know if you're going to see many better rushing attacks than what Penn State's trotting out.
I will give you one: the ability to attack in the rushing attack with your wide receivers, because Penn State was able to get to that a little bit towards the end of the game. I'm kind of curious because these are really good playmakers with the ball in their hands. Like Omar Cooper is really, really good. I think Elijah Surratt, not Sage Surratt, that's the Wake Forest kid, but Elijah Surratt's really good too. So you do have some weapons who I wonder, like, can you stretch them to the boundary a little bit more, like Penn State was able to do in that back half of the game?
If you are Indiana, you're diving into the fourth quarter. So what changes did Penn State make to allow them to have some success? Because they went 2 straight drives and put up 7 points, right? You're diving into some of that scheme. Ain't no doubt about it. Because here's the concern I have is if Indiana cannot run the football, and if Oregon can continue to be stingy against the run like they were against Penn State, it's tough for me seeing Indiana having a ton of success because number one, it's going to be really loud. It's going to be hard to get your calls in. It's going to be hard to hear the snap count, right? That already favors Oregon's defensive line. Number two, Dill, Oregon and pass protection, specifically on the right side of that offensive line, Khalil Benson at right tackle. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's horrible, but I don't think it's great, Dill. And I know Mateo, you or Tatum, whoever's on that side is going to
Well,
have a
and it's
massive
not
advantage.
easy. It's not easy to hide a side against this Oregon team because all four of them can really rush it, and you have two absolute stallions at the pass rush edge position to make it difficult. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of with you. I think it will start with like what can Indiana do, finding
have
something
to.
on the ground, and I think it's going to have to get a little creative, like Penn State was in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Dill, when Mendoza's clean in the pocket, 78% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like when he is under pressure, and we saw that a little bit more than we thought we were going to when they went on the road and played Iowa. And Dill, I'll say that was probably the best defensive front that Indiana's seen all year. They
Well,
were
that
on the
that
road
was
in
the
Kinnick
first
Stadium.
front that had, like, multiple guys who can really win one-on-ones, like, Herkett can win, Llewellyn can win, Graves can win, and they were winning. They were winning their matchups when they got one-on-one opportunities, and that's the problem, I think, for Indiana is, like, you can't have a right side of your offensive
Yeah.
line consistently getting beat pretty clean.
Yeah, and so how do you protect that side? You run the football, and you stay out of those third and long pass rushing situations where Mateo U's pinning his ears back, trying to get after the quarterback. Here's the other thing that they'll, and I will say this, and we noted it at the top. Mendoza is going to have to be a guy here, right? You're going to have to get yourself out of trouble because I don't know if Indiana is going to have a ton of success pass blocking against this Oregon front. You're going to need to lean on Fernando, kind of like what Dante Moore did on the road against Penn State. Hey, it ain't going to be perfect. I got to go be an athlete. Got to get outside the pocket, throw off platform, and make some high-level throws for my football team, something that Curtis Rourke could not do for you, right? When he was under pressure, he was not getting outside the pocket and creating something Fernando Mendoza can offer a little bit more.
And also,
Yeah,
you got a wide receiver core that I think is going to frankly challenge you a little bit more than Penn State. Like, I know everyone Penn State transfer wideouts, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not a great wideout
it's
core.
not
This
even close.
Indiana wideout
Yeah.
core is elite. And like a guy like Surratt makes plays with the ball in the air. Omar Cooper, really good with the ball in his hands.
EJ
Like,
Williams, too. Here's the thing that I love about Indiana, Dill. Like, they're really multidimensional. There are not a lot of football teams that trust every single defensive back that's on the football field. And if you're one of those teams, Indiana's going to find a weak spot because they got guys that can test you all over the football field. Here's the thing with Oregon. Where's their weak spot?
well, that's like it's super talented. We just haven't seen them play a great passing attack. I am
Sure.
kind of curious. Like you
Yes.
talk about getting your answers for Indiana, like Oregon's
Yeah.
going to get some of their answers because frankly, they haven't seen a passing
Yeah.
attack like what Indiana can throw at them if
Yeah.
they can hold up in pass pro.
Yep. I like that. All right, let's flip the sides of Oregon's offense. And let's just say this Indiana defense, there's two things I'll note about Indiana. Number one, they are the most opportunistic defense and it's been 2 straight years, though. I mean, like, whenever they get
You
a
can't do the
chance.
like turnover as or creating turnovers as high variance. Like, well, they're just doing
No.
it. They're doing it consistently. They're scoring from dealing. They are really good at doing what they do on defense.
If you put the ball in harm, there's a lot of teams where like their quarterback will get away with like throwing some interceptable passes because defensive backs can't catch in college football. Not Indiana, though. Like any chance they have to create a turnover, they're doing it, and oftentimes they like bringing it back to the house. This is an extremely opportunistic Indiana defense that Dill has NFL talent at all three levels. Right? Talk about Kamara up front. Talk about Fisher at back or D'Angelo Ponce. Dill,
Sure.
there's not many better cornerbacks in the country than that kid. Here's the thing I love about Oregon in this matchup. Oregon can do it all, right? If they and Dill, it's a very similar style of defense that you saw with Penn State. Like they're going to be really, really aggressive, trying to get upfield with their defensive linemen. And how does Oregon decide to manage that? How do you think Oregon moves the football against Indiana on defense is probably the long way winded question that I want to ask you
Yeah,
here.
I think they're gonna run right at him, and if I'm a top tier, like, offensive line, that's probably what I'd do with a team like Indiana because they are really small up front. That is the one thing, and, like, I'm it's not t like, Tyree Tucker might be one of the best defensive linemen in
Yes.
the country.
Yeah.
He's awesome,
Same thing.
but they're small. They're kinda like Penn State. You said it, and you
Yeah.
saw what Oregon was able to do, just kinda run right at them, create some creases, and hit big plays in the run game. So, to me, it's kinda similar, and that's where Oregon is a really tough matchup for a team like Indiana because they don't beat themselves with negative plays. Dante
Yep.
Moore's not putting the ball in harm's way. And that's kind of how that's what Indiana feasts on, frankly. They don't give up big plays in their back end.
Yes.
They create negative plays with the front seven and they take the ball away. Oregon's not giving the ball away or giving up
And
negative.
Dill, that's the other. So like in the run game, you feel confident that Oregon can run the football. That is an ass kicking offensive line, right? And they got a guy in Dyer Hill as a true freshman at the running back spot. The other thing that I've been really impressed with Dante Moore is he's not forcing anything, man. Right? And you said it best. Indiana's not going to give you a ton of explosives. If you're an Oregon fan that wants to see the vertical passing game on full display in this football game, you're probably going to be waiting a couple of more weeks, right? Because Indiana's not going to give you a ton of opportunities to do that. They will give you some stuff underneath. Well, the good thing for Oregon is you have guys that you can get the football to in space. Let them go be athletes, man. Like Kenyon Sadiq in space, Decorian Moore in space. Hey, you can create you do not need to throw the football 40 yards down the field to create explosive plays with this Oregon offense because you have so many different guys that are really damn dynamic with the football in their hands. And here's the biggest question I have is Indiana's done a really good job coming up and tackling, right? Well, they have not seen a group of playmakers like Oregon's trotting out there on the perimeter. And so if you want to play a lot of that off coverage and come up and tackle, well, you better make sure you come up and tackle. Because if you don't, like Decorian Moore, as much as people want to talk about the acrobatic catches he makes, he's 10-5 guy in the 100-meter dash. He will take it to the house if you don't tackle him in space. Okay, same thing for Kenyon Sadiq. He's a 10-7 dude, 100-meter dash. All right, Dale, let's get into the pick. Oregon at home 10.5-point favorites, nine. It's been bouncing around 10 points. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Oregon, 10-point favorites. Who you got here?
I'd take Oregon to cover it. And I'm not sure Indiana's closed that talent gap quite yet. Like again, you
Yep.
said it. Like when they get teams that they're either equal to or maybe have a little bit
Yep.
more talent, they've been pounding them. But
Yes.
I'm not sure they have the guys. In Oregon, like they don't beat themselves. And Indiana does rely
Yep.
a little bit on teams beating themselves. And that's not at all criticism. Like they force teams into those things. They take the ball away, they score on special teams, those type of things. I just look at Oregon like, yeah, against a really aggressive Penn State team, they really didn't make any crucial mistakes at all. So I don't think Oregon's going to give them enough to keep this game particularly close.
I am going to take Oregon too. And I want to preface this with I would take a lot of teams over Indiana last year because I didn't really believe in Indiana. This is not the case. Like this is a better football team in 2025 than the team that we saw in 2024. And I don't think there's a question about it. I'm just too damn high in Oregon, man, especially coming off a bye, getting some guys back at home, Indiana going across the country. There are too many and then when you just look at the matchups, I think the stuff that Indiana does well, I think Oregon can deal with. In the problems that Indiana has specifically in pass protection, I think Oregon can really expose here. It's going to be a really fun one. We're going to learn about this Indiana football team. And I would be stunned if it's a 28-point blowout here. I think Indiana's too good for that. All right, we'll close it out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.